welcome back to another episode of the Guidance from Within podcast. I am your friend and host, Brittany Woods, bridging the seen and unseen worlds of our reality. I wanted to dive deeper in today to the Akashic Records and talk to you a little bit more about what it's like in the Akashic Records, my experience for the first time going into the Akashic Records, like what does it feel like, who greets me when I open my own Akashic Records, and just a little bit more about what the Akashic Records are and how I channel from there. I get a lot of questions, especially from clients, where they'll ask, how did you learn how to read the Akashic Records? What is it like for you in the Akashic Records? How does the information flow for you in there? And because of all those questions, I wanted to create this episode that's all about the Akashic Records. If you don't know what the Akashic Records are, I am going to tell you everything you need to know to get you started, or to at least answer some of the questions that you've probably been wondering about if you've stumbled upon this episode. I am an Akashic Record reader. I am an energy healer. Specifically, my training is in Esoteric Healing, and I'm a spiritual life coach. I love being a reader. I started 2.5 years ago channeling through the Akashic Records, but what I will say is I didn't just start channeling the Akashic Records. That was not my spiritual journey. I started when I was 14, doing energy healing and automatic writing. I was channeling through the form of automatic writing before I ever opened the Akashic Records. And that really set me up for success when I decided to open my Akashic Records for the first time. So I spent a lot of time working on my intuition in other ways. And then when the Akashic Records found me, because they'll find you, they'll find you when they're ready to. You don't have to go searching for this kind of work. Somehow, in an amazing way, whatever is meant for you will find you. I believe that, absolutely. And the Akashic Records found me, and I'll tell you that story too. But the Akashic Records are a vibrational library that every soul has. So you have one, I have one. My cat has an Akashic Record that I open as well. Yes, you can open animals' Akashic Records. I've done so quite a few times. I've given a couple of readings for pets. I've also wanted to get to know my cat Jeremiah more, and it's been a fun experience that way. I mostly open clients' Akashic Records. I mostly do hour-long sessions of being able to open the Akashic Records. So this higher vibrational sort of library that houses every soul's experiences, things that they've incarnated into, and people they used to be, as well as how their past lives and those stories affect them today. I channel a lot when it comes to healing and some information about how to kind of help you heal, whether it be certain herbs or teas or actions for folks to take to help heal themselves that might come through the records. I also allow you to meet your spirit guides in the Akashic Records. So with the prayer I use to open up your soul's library, I invite in your life guide. I invite in any ascended masters that you might work with. So basically when I say ascended masters, I mean sort of other light beings that are helping assist you on your journey as a soul. And I allow them to greet us. So how do I say a prayer, open up the Akashic Records, and allow these light beings to greet us so that I can talk to you for spirit, right? I am a divine channel. I allow spirit to talk through me, to talk to you for your journey, to help assist you on your path, and mostly to show you options that you have in your path, whether options you've thought about or haven't really given time to think about, or options you knew were there, you just weren't sure about, or things you've never thought about at all that actually might resonate with you when I can see the bigger picture and give you that option from your spirit guide. So it's a really beautiful process. Once I open a channel energetically, I say the prayer, open your Akashic Records. I then allow the space to take me where it needs to go. So it's really interesting because I feel like I'm just moving my Brittany ego brain aside so that your highest self and your spirit guides can come forward with information you need to know. And the best way that I can do this is through visualization and through feeling. So I'm a very visual reader. I see very vividly. I'm a really good seer. If I wasn't an Akashic Record reader, I might call myself an oracle or a seer. Those two words also could kind of define what I do, but through the visuals and through what I feel. So it's really interesting. Sometimes I will feel off in certain parts of my body, whether it be a pain here or there. And I'll let you know what I'm feeling and what I'm seeing. And generally, it aligns with what the client has been feeling physically or what they've been going through. And the guides are just confirming for me that I am channeling, that, it is important that we bring this feeling or this physical ailment to the surface so that it can be taken care of and released and we don't ignore it, right? A lot of that I do in healing within the Akashic Records, we do have to go back in time. We do have to connect to past lives in order to heal traumatic events that our soul has once lived through, so that today it can have less of an effect on who you are today, and in turn heal probably things that you've been going through as well, whether it be physically, emotionally, mentally, whatever it might be. What it feels like in the Akashic Records is very high vibrational. So if you just look around your room, or if you're in your car listening to this, or wherever you are, if you just look around, you're seeing the third dimension. You are seeing sort of the world that has been built from first, second, third dimension, right? So first dimension, the earth, the core, moving up to second is like the crust and the elementals. And when we move up to the third, we're seeing like, oh, our body. There's a desk in front of me. I am currently sitting on a bed. I am in the third dimension fully. When we go into the Akashic Records, or we open up a channel in any way, or we're giving, let's say, an energy healing session even, what we do is we become a conduit for higher vibrations that actually come from higher dimensions. So what I mean by this is some folks believe that the Akashic Records are housed in the 8th dimension. Some folks believe the Akashic Records are housed in the 5th dimension. And for me, I don't really bother with where the Akashic Records are housed, because I more have faith in the information that's there. I have such faith and trust. I have many examples of many readings that I've given of having faith in the information that comes through. I will also let you know that if a soul needs to be reminded, or if a soul needs to have information, a client needs to have information on what dimension to connect to more, that might also come through. But we are raising our vibration when we open up the Akashic Records with our prayer or meditation, whatever we use to open the records. Once we raise our vibration, we are connecting to a higher consciousness. That higher consciousness happens to be, with our intentions, the Akashic Records. The information from the Akashic Records is then passed down vibrationally. I will call this downloaded into sort of me, my existence, my being, in the form that your guides and your highest self knows that I will understand. So divine is super intelligent, super intelligent. And they understand that I have my own blocks as a reader. I have my own perceptions as a reader, and things that might be harder for me to channel. They know that the best way to communicate to me through the Akashic Records for a client is going to be through visuals and through feelings and through emotions. The reason I say this is because you might very well go to a medium or still a different kind of reader, and they're very auditory. So they quite literally might just hear your guide talking to them, and then they repeat what they have heard to you. That is not my style. They give me an image. That image they give me is multidimensional. So while my third eye is activated and I'm channeling the image, there's aspects to this image. It's not like I'm seeing a movie play out in my head. It is like that, but the movie is multidimensional. It's meaning that it's very much alive to me, meaning I'm not just watching the movie, but I'm inside of the movie itself. I can feel what's happening in the movie. I see very vividly the details sometimes. I know what time and place this is happening. I know the thoughts, feelings, emotions a lot of times of what you're going through in that visual as well. So it's a multi-dimensional imprint that they give me. That's sort of how I work. That's how I channel. That's kind of my way of doing things. And I let the information take us from point A to point Z to point L to who knows, like point C and then back to point Y. Sometimes when we ask questions in the Akashic Records, we have to go all around the board in order for the bigger picture to make sense. And usually by the end of the reading, even if it feels like I've gone all over the place, at the end of the reading, everything can tie together really beautifully. That's one thing that fascinates me, because my Brittany brain will be like, what does this mean? Why am I seeing this? I don't know right now. Usually 10 minutes later, I will see something else and then it clicks. And then I realize, oh, that's why they were showing this before, because it relates to this and this and this. That's just kind of my style of channeling. 2 years ago, I found the Akashic Records. I read the book on it in one night. It was beautiful. I sat at my bed and opened the Akashic Records and I saw an extraterrestrial in front of me. I don't know how to say this. Extraterrestrial, ET, a light worker, a light being that came into my awareness, and I knew them as soul family. It kind of really jolted me. I wasn't expecting to be that visual. So I didn't realize how visual of a person I am until I opened my Akashic Records for the first time, which is really funny. I was only doing energy healing. So when I started channeling in the Akashic Records, I learned exactly how visual I am, and it scared me because it startled me because I really thought that there was someone else in the room, just not physically in the 3D in the room with me. They were more in a higher dimension in the room with me, and it startled me to see them so vividly. But I do believe they're a part of my soul family. I think that they are a part of my Starseed lineage, and they greeted me in the Akashic Records. Ever since then, it just feels so light, so much love in the Akashic Records, even if we're looking at traumatic past life events or something that has a lot of grief or sadness surrounding it. It generally feels like it's backed by love. So anything that I see or feel in the records, yes, it's true, it's there, we hold space, but then immense love takes over every time. Who do I work with? This was a question that I get kind of often, is who do I work with in the Akashic Records? So I just mentioned I do work with my Starseed family. I have also channeled the Pleiadians a couple of times. I channel the Pleiadians more for the collective, not for my own self. So what's really interesting is if I'm doing a collective reading, and I'll post that if I decide to go live on Instagram or YouTube or wherever to give a collective reading for free one day, I will post it, and it's generally Pleiadian energy that comes there, because the Pleiadians, their sort of whole agenda is to be like our bigger brother and sisters, and I get a huge smile on my face when I think about them. They're the ones that are going to help us go into the new age that is filled with peace, and the new age where there's so much harmony. They're helping us do that. So collectively, when I am opening the collective Akashic Records for like humanity itself, usually the Pleiadians, they're the ones that are called in. They're the ones that are giving me the information. When I give readings for myself, I work a lot with Saint Germain. Saint Germain is a wonderful, wonderful healer and ascended master. He oversees the violet flame, and he works with the violet flame through alchemizing and healing. And it's more than just healing. It's more about alchemizing anything that's at a lower vibration to a higher vibration, which is really beautiful. So think sort of taking fear and alchemizing it into love, or think of taking like poverty consciousness and alchemizing that on the polarity scale into like abundance, or sickness and illness, alchemizing that into health, harmony. Yeah, I work with Saint Germain a lot, especially in the energy healing that I do as well. Where do I go? So when I open the Akashic Records, where do I go? I actually don't go to like a place when I'm in the Akashic Records. I go to a vibration. And what I mean by that is, if I myself want to give a reading to me, I normally go to somewhere that is going to tell me a story, or a vibrational place that I need to spend time in. There was a moment when my book club was going to read Journey of Souls, which is a book about hypnosis and being able to see our lives between lives and being able to go into a state of seeing what happens after we die. But hypnosis triggered me really deeply, and I wanted to read the book, but I had a deep, 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 deep fear of hypnosis. So what I had to do before I could even read the book, which was kind of embarrassing because I was like, here I am with this book club, this spiritual book club where people want to talk about topics and want to dive deeper in their spirituality, and yet I can't read about hypnosis. I have a huge fear, a huge block coming up. What I did then is I went into my Akashic Records, and instead of, I don't want to say go to a place, but I went somewhere vibrationally. And what had happened was I went and met with a light being that came forward and helped remove the block that I had against hypnosis. I, as Brittany, intentionally asked not to be shown details for why I have a fear of hypnosis, because I, didn't want to remember the details. I just wanted to allow the healing to occur without my conscious, like my Brittany human ego consciously being aware of what was happening. The reason I did that is because I didn't want to relive a traumatic situation if there was sort of a really deep trigger for hypnosis in that way, but I still wanted the healing to occur. And you might be asking me, how can you heal something if you don't know what it is that you're healing? Well, you're infinite and you're multidimensional, and all of your timelines are happening at once. So all your past lives, all your future lives, all the times where you're not having a 3D life, where you're out of body as a soul, it's all happening sort of at one time. I realized, as Brittany, I don't need to go back into that fear state in order to heal the fear that's there. I allowed this light being to come in and work with me through vibrational sort of upgrades and release, so that the fear of hypnosis was released. I exited my Akashic Records. I didn't feel like I went anywhere, but vibrationally a lot happened. And that was that. And honestly, I'm not afraid of hypnosis. I read all the books in that series. It's a wonderful series. I absolutely am pro hypnosis now. I would love to go and have a session in that sort of work, because I don't carry that fear or block anymore. And it was a really important part of my journey. Sometimes I'll open my Akashic Records because I'm feeling a little low vibration. Let me just tap into a higher vibration for myself that will really support me right now. And it's like medicine. It's like a good energy medicine. I just tap in, I say hello, I feel the vibration there. It's a lot of love. And that's all that I needed in that moment. Usually if I go into the Akashic Records, I am wanting to write something. There's a course intuitively that I feel called I want to write. So I open the records for them to give me tips on how to write that course. Whenever I want to start a life coaching program, like with a new client, if I sign a new client for the spiritual life coaching program that I offer, I will go into my Akashic Records and say, what does this person need? How can I best help them in my relationship to them? And a lot of times, really good tips and information comes through about how to help assist that client. I never go into anyone else's Akashic Records without their permission, without a session set up. I would never do that. I don't go into your energy without your permission if I'm not giving you a reading or an energy healing session. I respect your energetic boundaries so much that I would never violate your free will. I would never insert myself energetically into your space like that. I'm not going to try and remember what I gave you a reading about, try to remember the information that came through. I'm not that nosy. So when I give you a reading or the energy healing session, it's for you. If you are opening the Akashic Records, or if you want to open the Akashic Records, I highly recommend that you try if you feel called. One thing that I will mention in order for you to really get all that you can out of the Akashic Records, if you decide to open them, is you're not forcing information. The moment you start to force information is the moment that your human brain is going to cut off contact with what's coming through. And the other thing I'll say is, aside from forcing information, I will also mention that you don't want to criticize, judge, even acknowledge the information coming through. What I mean is, click record on your phone, start talking to yourself. Don't worry about what you're saying until after you close the records. If you're writing, start writing. Don't try to attach yourself to the information coming through, or force the information to come through, or judge it, or criticize it, or question it. you allow the information to come through, you close the records, and then you can reread it, and then you can re-listen to your recording. But those are my biggest tips for that. I will also say it's a journey. You just need to practice it. If you want to open up your own Akashic record, just practice. Practice doing it, see what you feel, practice. Either you need to verbalize or draw while you channel, or write while you channel, or sing while you channel. Whatever it might be, find your way of channeling that works best for you. I think that's also really important. And know that even though my first time opening the Akashic Records, I'm very visual. I saw someone standing in front of me. When you open your Akashic Records, it might just feel very gentle and soothing. And you might see some beautiful colors in there, or feel some really beautiful love. Like a lot of love energy can come from the Akashic Records, but go gentle, be easy on yourself, and it is quite a journey to open up the Akashic Records. Well, I hope that you've enjoyed my sort of crash course in the Akashic Records, and also just some interesting things that I've learned from my work there and how I channel and what it's like for me to channel. I love doing this work. It fascinates me. I'm always fascinated by the information coming through. But yeah, and sometimes I don't even feel like I'm doing work. I'm just really getting myself out of the way for the real work to happen. And so, isn't it fascinating? Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this. If you would please subscribe, whether you're watching this on YouTube or listening on the podcast. I'd love to hear from you. Feel free to leave a comment or let me know what you thought. I think it could be really interesting to hear your thoughts around some of the stuff that came through in this episode today. But anyway, take care. And if you're opening your Akashic Records, you got this. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I wish you nothing but the best on that journey.